And now we're joined here in the studio with Joe Kaiser. Joe, thank you so much. How did you get here so fast from Crystal City?
Tara, I am very fast, and it's also the magic of television.
Oh, wow, that was great. I'm so glad that you're here with us.
Thank you very much.
In the segment that we just saw prior to this, there was a lot of mention about composting. And that is something you have a lot of interest in.
Interest and expertise, we hope.
That is awesome.
Yeah. I've been doing compost education and research for well over 20 years now.
And
I know it doesn't show.
No,
I do.
not at all. Not at all. But can you tell us, it seems like it's such a hot topic nowadays, composting.
Topic? Yes, it is. Well, it's recycling.
What is that,
I'd say Arlington folks really like recycling. They're very much into recycling and support the program. Composting is simply nature's way to recycle. The nice thing about composting, though, is unlike putting stuff in your bin by the curb, like bottles and cans, composting you keep at home. So that everything you do with composting, the leaves you put in, the grass clippings, weeds, whatever it might be, those materials break down, form compost, which is a great soil amendment, and people can use that around their yard and garden. So they can use it as a mulch, they can use it to improve the soil, and we have pretty lousy clay soils around here. So it fixes all of those problems for them, and without the county having to pick things up. So it saves them money ultimately as taxpayers, but it's giving them a great little benefit, a little bonus in a way.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So it's really using some of the materials and things that you have at home to be able to improve things.
Right, and it is very easy.
How do you do it? I see you have the bin here. And
I've got many model bins and many techniques, but I guess what I like to stress is that things are decomposing anyway.
Yes.
Composting is making things rot for you when you want them to and where you want them to.
You can control the rotting.
You control the rotting, yes, and you're rotting for your own benefit, so that may not sound that great. And what I've done is there's a couple of sample little bins. These are models of bins that people can make to use in their own backyard. I mean, people can compost in a pile if they want to. Bins are a bit tidier and it makes the process work a bit more effectively, but they can use various types of wire, mesh, and scrap lumber. My favorite bin, this is also a miniature, my favorite bins are actually made out of wooden shipping pallets.
Oh, really?
And you can take 5 of these, you put one in the ground, and you set up the other 4 around the outside, and it's a nice big size bin, maybe too big for many backyards, but if you've got a larger yard and a lot of material, it's a great way to go. Places like My Organic Market.
I was getting ready to ask, where can you get one of those?
They give them away for free, they're happy to. So there's a perfectly good source for it, for composting.
Cost effective.
Very cost effective. And if people don't want to go to this extent, Arlington County, through the Division of Solid Waste, actually makes compost bins available to residents for $17.
Oh, that's good too.
Well,
so you've got some alternatives.
Yeah, it's very easy. It's just it's a black recycled plastic sheet, and it holds, again, about a cubic yard of material. So that's a lot of the leaves that most yards generate in the fall.
And being able to collect. I've heard that composting, it's a lot of work to do. Is that true?
It can be if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be. It all depends on how quickly you want things to break down. I'd say the important things are you want to make sure that the materials in your pile stay evenly moist. We normally say it should feel like a wrung out sponge, that kind of consistency. If a pile dries out, then it's not going to break down. The bacteria that do most of the work are not going to be able to effectively decompose things. So if people can make sure it's evenly moist, what I would say is when you go home and set one up, if you've got the space for it, make sure the top of your pile is always concave. It has a little depression in it so that when it rains, the rainwater is captured by the pile, sent down to the bacteria, and they'll break things down for you.
That's awesome. Now you have something here, a demonstration.
Yes,
Is this something that we could do at home?
It is. Well, people can do this at home. One of the advantages of this, and this is called a worm bin, it's for worm composting, is so many people in Arlington live in multifamily units. They live in condominiums and apartments like us.
Like myself.
and this is my bin from home.
Oh, wow.
And I simply use ripped up newspaper, recycling in a way, ripped up newspaper that I've dampened as a bedding material. A special worm called a red worm. It's not the same thing. Don't go out in your backyard and start pulling them out of the ground.
You just can't pull them out of the ground and stick them in the bin.
Don't want to do that. Very difficult. Too many worms. You start off with about a pound of red worms, and into this bin I can put about 1/4 to 1/2 pound of food almost every day, and the worms will actively break that down. And after about 3 months' time, everything that you see in this bin right now, all the newspaper and the orange rinds and things like that,
wow.
all will be broken down into compost. I can then use that compost, and you can use it if you do it yourself.
Yes.
You can use it with your potted plants. People can use it in their vegetable garden. They can make potting mixes out of it.
And it's very healthy. It's a really great way for the plants to grow and thrive.
It's exactly the nutrients and micronutrients that they need without any of the other additives, no petroleum products or anything like that. And it is something that people can do in a utility room. They can do it in their basement if they want to.
So you don't need a lot of space.
No, and that's the
my
beauty.
concern.
Right. It's the beauty of using worm composting. The worms work much more quickly than outdoor composting, and it's great with food. And that's a consideration too for people who have even a backyard, that do they want to put food out in their bin in the backyard? Certainly no one ever wants to compost or try to compost meats, fats, anything with protein, dairy products, greases. That'll attract rats and other unpleasant
things you don't want.
And it could be that if you do have rodents in your backyard or in your neighborhood, hopefully no one does, but some people do obviously, you may not want to put food out at all. So if you don't want to put food in your compost bin outside, you can always do it inside.
Inside. Now, if you want to learn more information
Yes.
about composting,
Right.
we've tickled people's fancy, I guess, with some of these things.
We
Where
hope
can
we
they-
tickle them.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Arlington County has been doing a series of workshops. In fact, I just did one recently at Potomac
wow.
Overlook Regional Park. We had, I think, between 50 and 60 people.
Nice.
So people should, look out for those opportunities to find out more about composting. And there's a website that I like to tell people about. Is mine, but it's a nonprofit thing.
Oh.
And it's called Vermilab, vermilab.org, vermilab.org. And in that I have information on how to compost at home with worms and
this is
using other
great.
techniques.
I'm
Yeah.
going to be visiting that website right
Well, we hope
after
you will,
this.
Tara.
Well, thanks so much for joining
My
us
pleasure,
today,
Tara.
Joe.
My pleasure.
And now, sadly, we're out of time. So go out there and start building your own compost pile. But don't forget that we'll be right back here at the AVN Studios next month for another edition of Here Now.